This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. Hello and welcome to episode number 46. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 26th of August 2006. In the past 45 episodes, we have looked at various project management methodologies and project management frameworks. We've looked at Waterfall, Agile, the PMBOK Guide, and Prince2, among others. They just kept popping up all over the program again and again. In today's episode, I am excited to have Tom Mokal from 10-Step as my guest. He and I will explore what it means to have a scalable methodology. Today's episode is sponsored by the University of California Irvine Extension. Better, faster, more. We hear this from our stakeholders every day. Do you have the tools to take on these demands? The University of California Irvine Extension Project Management Certificate Program can give you the knowledge to get your projects done. On time, on budget. To learn more, visit www.extension.uci.edu/PM or call in the United States 949-824-7774. UCI Extension is a Project Management Global Charter member. As always with our sponsors, if you want to visit them, please click on their banner that is displayed on the pmpodcast.com. Because if you click on their banner on our website, then the sponsor knows that you have found them through us. And while you are on the website, there are still the 3 polls up. Do you like the website? How long should a podcast last? And should long interviews be broken up into 2 episodes? Well, yeah, and that's the question that I had asked for the last 3 weeks or so. And the survey results, whether or not a long interview should be broken up into 2 episodes, it currently is a tie. Today it is 11 against 11. Also, most of you voted that an episode should only be about 20 to 30 minutes long. The results are somewhat inconclusive at this point. That's why I decided to break today's interview up into 2 episodes. It is a long one, so I wanted to keep the episode today shorter. Please continue to vote in order for us to understand better what you would like and how you would like to listen to the show. Which, of course, brings me right back to the next topic, and that is the fact that many of you still listen to the Project Management Podcast manually, meaning you go to the website and you click on a link, and then you listen to the podcast on your computer. Well, if you want to keep doing that, but if you want to automate the downloads, why don't you download the iTunes program? iTunes is easy to handle, and you can subscribe not only to the Project Management Podcast, but to all podcasts that you would like to listen to. And if you want to continue to listen to it manually by clicking on the website each week, on the link on the website each week, then I suggest that you subscribe to our Google group. That is a weekly reminder email that we send out, and it's easy. On the website, click on the left-hand side on the subscribe, receive a weekly reminder, and it explains everything to you. No spam whatsoever, 1 weekly email that we're sending out. And of course, you can unsubscribe at any time that you like. And now let us move on to the helpful resources. The interview that you're going to hear in a few moments is about scalable project management methodologies. So I thought, hey, why not focus on project management methodologies in the helpful resources? And I'd like to start you out with the International Institute for Learning. They have a 1-hour webinar. It is called An Introduction to Using a Web-Based Project Management Methodology. This seminar is given by George Pitagorski, PMP. It is a free seminar, and the good thing is, if you are a PMP, then you can earn 1 PDU by listening to this particular webinar. The second helpful resource comes from the website of Max Weidman, and it is titled Project Management Guidelines for Program Managers, a basis for good practice in a multi-project organization. And the link that I'm giving you takes you to Max's website, to his ISACONs, Issues and Considerations. And oh my god, it looks like he has about 30 individual presentations on good practices for project management. He has project management guidelines checklist, and then he divides it up into 4 phases: conception, definition, implementation, and transfer of a project management methodology. And he goes into everything: the project life cycle, the project business case, project communications, final project review and audit, you name it. He's got everything laid out for you. So if you're looking for a good, solid introduction to project lifecycle and to project management methodology, Max Weidman is always a good place to stop by. Six Sigma as project management methodology is the title of a post in the IT Toolbox groups. And this was posted by MP, and he writes, I heard that companies like Lockheed Martin are utilizing Six Sigma in their software development. I thought that Six Sigma was pretty much a manufacturing planning and improvement methodology. Does anyone have experience using Six Sigma for software development project management? I'm curious to learn how it translates into a software development environment. There are 7 insightful responses to this question by MP. We are ending today's helpful resources with one by Tom Mokel. Yes, our interview guest. He wrote an article in the ukbuilder.com, and the article is entitled Create Specific Metrics to Show the Value of Project Management Methodologies. Have you ever wondered how you can create metrics in order to show senior management in your company the value of project management methodologies? Well, this is the article to read, and the upcoming interview is, of course, the interview to listen to and learn about scalable methodologies. Yeah, as always, if you are wanting to take a closer look at these helpful resources, go to www.thepmpodcast.com. The helpful resources are always in the show notes at the bottom, or in the left-hand navigation of the website under helpful resources. You can find them all categorized under the various categories that we offer. And now let's move on with the main topic of the show, the interview with Tom Mokel. But one quick remark before we start here. The interview was done via Skype from my computer to Tom's telephone. And throughout the interview, there was a bit of static on the line, and you will still hear the occasional crackling and popping. I tried my best to eliminate this, and trust me, it's still audible, but it sounds much, much better now that I've worked on it than it originally did. Tom Mokel, he has had an illustrious career. He has worked for Eastman Kodak, Capgemini Ernst & Young, the Coca-Cola Company, and GEAC Computers. He has over 17 years of experience in managing and coaching project managers, as well as over 20 years of project management and people management experience. He is a speaker on project management. He has written several books on the topic. He is the author of countless columns in project management newsletters, and he is, of course, the president of 10-Step, a company focused on methodology development, training, and consulting. Tom is also the principal author of the 10-Step methodology, and therefore an expert when it comes to discuss scalable project management methodologies, which is what we're going to do right now.
Project Management Podcasts Feature Interview. Today with Tom Mokel, President of 10-Step Incorporated.
Hello, Tom, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. I appreciate the offer to talk with you and your listeners.
Absolutely, you're more than welcome. Let me start out the interview by going back to last year. You have received the PMI's Distinguished Contribution Award. First of all, congratulations to that. And can you explain to our listeners what this award means and why you received it?
Yes, well, thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it. PMI gives a Distinguished Contribution Award on a yearly basis. They give it out during the annual PMI convention or PMI Congress. It's given to people who are recognized for a substantial and ongoing contribution to the project management field or project management industry. They give out a few of them. When I got my award last year, there were 4, but that was 4 worldwide, so I was the only one in North America that received it. I got it because of the work that we've done in the 10-step network to make a project management process available for tens and tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. We have published our methodology in English on our website, 10step.com, but we also have sponsored the methodology to be translated into 14 different languages. And so if you're in Italy, you can see the process in Italian. If you're in Germany, you can see it in German. And we don't charge to see the basic process. We do ask you to sign up, but that's a free process. And so they recognized us for our work communicating and trying to broaden the understanding of project management around the world. Also, I have also published extensively and have over 500 columns that I've published in magazines, in PMI chapters, and on different websites over the past 3 years. So it's that, not any single occurrence, but it's a recognition of a sustained contribution over a period of years to the project management profession.
Yes, it is a wonderful recognition for you, and they have picked the right man, I'm sure. Now, today we want to discuss both the value of project management and also the importance of applying project management to your projects in a scalable manner. So let's start out with the most difficult question, probably. What is the value of project management in your point of view?
Well, it's a good question, and there's probably a very long explanation. There's probably a book that we could talk about that would explain the value, but the general thought that I have around the value proposition is that we have projects, we have work that has some start and end date, and if we have work that's characterized as a project, there are reasons to want to manage that work more formally. Project management provides us with a common set of processes and procedures and templates and best practices. It depends how extensive your methodology is, but it basically provides you with the guidance, the techniques and procedures and templates to use to be able to deliver your project within expectations. Ultimately, we'd like to deliver our work better, faster, cheaper. But even if we're just delivering consistently within the expectations that we've given, most organizations would consider that to be a huge win. And project management allows us to do that. It gives us the tools and gives us the knowledge that we need to be able to manage these projects, whether they're small projects or whether they're huge, large, extensive projects. The tools and the skills and the resources that we need to manage the work is all a part of what project management's all about.
What kind of results should organizations expect when implementing project management initiatives? I mean, is it just we're now able to perform better in project management, or is there something more to it?
Well, remember, ultimately, we're trying to deliver the work. We're trying to deliver the projects in a way that meets expectations. So I guess I would change how you said it a little bit. I know you just gave it as an example, but I wouldn't say that we're trying to be better at project management. I think what we'd say is we're trying to deliver our projects better. And initially, as I mentioned, many companies would be happy if we could use project management to consistently deliver within the expectations that we say we're going to deliver. If we said a project was going to be 6 months and $100,000, just if we could deliver consistently, in that 6 months, $100,000, if we could consistently deliver the results that our company expects, that's a big win. And if we can ultimately deliver our projects better, faster, cheaper, then that's a much bigger win for the organization as well. So the value from a company standpoint is going to come, first of all, just being able to be more predictable and to meet the commitments that we've set down.
So what do companies have to do in order to deliver then? What is the main focus that they should go after?
That's a good question, and it gets at maybe the key to why many companies struggle with project management. Project management is a change to how people do their jobs today. Most people don't manage projects formally. They don't manage them effectively, for that matter. And so with project management, we're trying to change how people do their jobs, and therefore it falls into the category of a culture change initiative. Most organizations don't do a very good job of making cultural change. And so in order to really be able to implement fully with project management, we need to understand it's a culture change initiative. We need to put together a multifaceted strategy and a multifaceted plan to be able to get project management into the culture. It's more than just we'll buy a methodology and we'll train people. And it's more than just we'll train people and give them templates. It's all around training. It's all around having a good process. It's all around having coaches available. It's all around probably having a PMO to be able to maintain the methodology long term. It's all around training our executives. It's around training our customers. It's around audits to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to. There's many different aspects of implementation of project management that companies need to be pursuing. And hopefully, again, if you're a medium-sized company, maybe you could put a horizon of 2 years in order to really and fully develop your project management capability within your organization. It doesn't happen overnight, but it can be done if you have the staying power and the vision and the right sponsorship and treat it as a culture change initiative.
When you talk about culture change initiative, do you mean the culture that changes because of the introduction of project management methodologies in the company? Or do you talk about the culture change that occurs when you execute projects for your customers within the company and you change their processes and the way they do their work?
I think I'm referring to the first part. Companies have ways that they're executing projects today. Typically, it's ad hoc. Typically, different project managers have different processes and skills and different techniques and different templates that they use to manage projects. So when we talk about culture change, I'm talking about changing how we deliver projects using project management processes. And that's a change. It's a change for the project managers. It's a change for the sponsors. It's a change for the team members. It's a change for the customers, the client organization. It's a general change in the way projects get done. And it's not a short-term change. It needs to be a long-term change. And it's difficult. It's difficult to get people to buy into the methodology and to do the things that have been proven to be effective in managing projects. It takes work, but it also just takes change, and many people don't like to change, like to keep doing things the way they're doing today.
Thank you for the clarification. Now, do you find that the value that project management methodologies give to companies is understood more and more by the companies?
I think the answer is yes, and I guess I would... Maybe I would come back at this angle because I challenge people in my project management classes. The first thing that they might think about is project management. That means we're going to have a lot more paperwork and a lot more overhead, and things are going to slow down, and there's going to be a lot more bureaucracy. But then I challenge them and I say, do all of you understand that everyone's trying to get better at project management? And generally, they all shake their heads and say, yes, we understand. Everyone's trying to get better at project management. And so I say, well, if that's the case, then why would everyone want to get better at project management if ultimately the result of project management is your projects are all going to take longer and have a lot of unnecessary bureaucracy and a lot of unnecessary paperwork? So I first of all dispel that notion and work then on the value side of it. What is the value of project management? And I think the thought is in the U.S. and in Canada and in the westernized countries, I think there's a general belief on the part of most organizations that there's value in project management. They may not be able to articulate it, but there's value. And as time goes on, more and more companies, more and more organizations are recognizing that. 10 years ago, I don't think so. 20 years ago, for sure, there was probably a lot of debate on the value of project management. But I think companies today, to answer your question, companies today understand that they need to be better at managing projects for their own competitive benefit and be able to deliver with more predictability.
Yeah, your answer is actually a great segue to move over into the second item we want to talk about, the scalability of project management methodologies. Let me take you back. You've been in the business for about 20 years. Think back to your very first project that you managed. Do you remember the methodology that you used, and would you call it scalable?
Well, the easy answer is, like many of your listeners, when I started doing project management, I was doing it by the seat of my pants, and based on the organizational skills that I had. I certainly didn't have any training, not in my first project or my second or my third or my fourth or my fifth. Matter of fact, it was probably 15, 18 years into my career where I started working for a PMO that I really understood project management. And like a lot of your listeners, it's just that I never had been exposed to formal project management techniques. My managers didn't have that knowledge, and so they couldn't instill that to me, and they couldn't understand that I should have training in project management because they didn't have any understanding as well. So your answer, the answer is easy. I never managed a project using formal techniques until I joined the PMO at Coca-Cola, and then I learned how to manage projects, and at the same time then learned how to apply those techniques and train others and coach others who were just like me, that hadn't had that kind of knowledge before.
What would you say are the characteristics of a scalable project management methodology?
They need to recognize that the methodology would need to recognize that all project management processes need to provide value. And so if we have the processes that are used for a $100 million project, you can imagine those are going to be pretty rigorous and provide value to that $100 million project. But if we have a project that is then 100 hours, which is much on the other end, right? Then those same processes don't provide value to the smaller project. So when I think about scalability, I think about it from the standpoint of value add. Are the procedures value add? And if they are, then that probably means they're appropriate and scalable for the size of project that you're dealing with. And if they're not rigorous enough, then they're not providing value. So in other words, the processes that we use for the 100-hour project won't work for the $10 million project, but they don't work the other way either. So as projects get bigger, we need to add more rigor, more structure, more formal processes and procedures. And as we get smaller, then we should feel comfortable that we can loosen and be more informal and more scalable, I guess. So I'll use the term scalable in my definition. We need to make sure that everything fits the size of project that we're dealing with.
Now, is it really important that the methodology is scalable? I mean, can't I just have a methodology for small projects, one for medium projects, and one for extra large projects? I mean, that will work too.
To a certain degree, it might work that way. But the question I would ask you is, if I've got a status report, for instance, is that status report different for my small projects, my medium projects, and my large projects? And if I've got templates in general, are they different as we're going from large, medium, and small? Or are they similar, except that they maybe aren't as sophisticated, or perhaps in our small projects we don't use certain templates and certain processes? So the value of having one methodology that's scalable is that you can make sure everything is consistent as we get from small to medium to large. The processes are consistent, and I would be afraid that if we had three distinct methodologies for small, medium, and large, that we would lose much of the commonality. And that's a big benefit to implementing project management across your organization, is that everybody learns to do things in the same way. And if there's three processes, in my mind, we're more susceptible to where we have to learn a lot more stuff than if we have one process that scales up and scales down. Certainly your approach could be workable as long as the three methodologies for small, medium, and large were in fact similar in their basic constructs and their same terminology, the same roles. But if they were different, if we, for instance, developed the small methodology, licensed the medium methodology, and then licensed the large methodology from a different company, then certainly we would lose a lot of the benefits of having the common methodology just being scalable rather than three distinct ones.
Okay, understood. That makes a lot of sense. Where, however, are the limits of the scalability? I mean, can you truly have a methodology that works on a two-person project and then scale it up all the way to 2,000 people in 5 years?
Well, that's a good question. Can you truly have one methodology that's scalable from the 100-hour project up to the point where you could build the space shuttle, or build an aircraft? There's obviously a lot of differences in terms of the ultimate scalability. And actually, this might surprise you, I don't think so. I don't think we can use the same methodology and scale it up that far. At least I've not seen that in the past. I've seen methodologies, and for instance, our 10-step methodology, which we'll probably talk about in a little bit, we consider our methodology to be very scalable for small, medium, and large projects. But we're talking about the typical business projects, the typical IT projects, the typical manufacturing projects. And those typical large projects aren't building the F-15 fighter. They're not building a skyscraper. So I think a process can be scalable for 95 or 99% of all projects. But when you get into these huge mammoth projects, military projects, commercial aircraft, there's certainly a whole different mindset, I think, even from a good project manager. A good project manager who can deliver a $1 million project on schedule and on budget consistently, that might fit 95% of every project that a business is going to undertake. But can they scale their skills up to do one, that's, as you said, a 2,000-person 5-year project? I don't think so. I think that kind of project at the way upper end requires a very similar but very, very refined set of skills. And I don't know that the methodology that they could use could easily be scaled down all the way to the 2-person project.
All right, so scalable, yes, but scalable with certain limitations towards the upper end. Now, there is, of course, no way that I can speak to Tom Mokal without discussing your 10-step methodology. Why did you initially create the 10-step methodology?
I created 10-step because I felt like a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, I felt like I had a better way. When I was at Coca-Cola, we used a methodology from one of the big 5 companies, and it was certainly very comprehensive. It was, if you printed out the manuals, it would fill up half of a bookshelf with different aspects of the methodology. And I felt like when I was coaching project managers at Coca-Cola in the use of the methodology, I felt like it had a lot more there than most people needed. In other words, we struggled making it scalable enough. We also struggled in certain areas whether or not the methodology was understandable and whether it really got to the essence of what project managers need to know. And so after that experience, I felt like I wanted to take a shot at writing my own methodology. Your readers probably are chuckling, or sorry, your listeners are probably chuckling because they probably wouldn't think down that same road. They probably wouldn't think, I have a better way, I'm going to write a methodology. That's a pretty esoteric field. But I felt like I wanted to do it. I felt like I wanted to see if I could develop methodology. This was in the year 2000. I sat down and over about a 2 or 3 month period of time laid out the basic fundamental processes and structure of what we now call our 10-step model, and then started through a process of upgrading it and refining it and adding more content, basically building it up to the more full-featured methodology that we have today. But initially, just wanted to validate that I could express project management in a way that I felt was more understandable and a better model than the ones that I had experience with up till then.
Right. Can you give us an overview of the 10-step methodology? What are its cornerstones?
Well, good. There's a couple basic philosophies or cornerstones. First, it's called 10-step because, in fact, there are 10 components. So that's one of the fundamental parts of it. It's the first 2 parts are defining the work and managing the work plan. Defining the work and building the work plan. The thought is that before you start a project, you should have defined it to know what you're doing and what the risks are and what the objectives are, and you should have a work plan or a schedule that says generally how are you going to deliver the project. And then once the project starts, then the next 8 steps are all done throughout the project. It's managing the work plan, managing issues, managing scope, managing communication, managing risk, managing documentation, managing quality, and managing metrics. There's also a built-in scalability into the process, and you've been asking about scalability. Our 10-step model does that 2 ways. First of all, for every step or every component of the methodology, we have guidance for large, medium, and small projects using the same general models, but small, medium, and large. And then number 2, the further out we get in our steps, the more those processes apply to your larger projects. So on your smaller to medium projects, for instance, you may only be going out in the methodology to our step 5 or step 6. You may not have to worry about managing documentation. You may not have enough documentation generated to be able to worry about that. You may not have to do formal quality management, which is our step 9. Again, doesn't mean that you're not going to produce a good quality product, but formal quality management is itself a culture change, and generally it implies that you have a pretty large and sophisticated project to do formal quality management and to collect the metrics, which is step 10. So that also builds in the scalability. We want to make sure we're doing the first 4 or 5 steps for all projects, but then the larger projects, the larger we get, the more we'll take advantage of those further out steps in the process. Those are a couple of the fundamentals, the 10 steps, the scalability built into it, and then the other thing that makes it kind of unique, I think, and I guess I shouldn't say I think, we've gotten tons of feedback that the methodology seems like it's understandable for most people, whereas many methodologies you read are kind of hard to get your head around. It seems like that the 10-step model is written in a way that people can read and really understand and say, hey, this makes a lot of sense. I can apply this on my project.
And that was part 1 of my discussion with Tom Mokel on Scalable Project Management Methodologies. Tune in again next week for part 2. And let me just remind you that the Project Management Podcast is, of course, a 10-step affiliate. And if you are interested in the 10-step product line and you would like to purchase one of their products, why don't you do this through us? Click on the affiliate link on our website. The commission that is paid to us helps us to cover the cost of our program here. Yeah, and that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. And when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. No project is impossible for the person who doesn't have to do it. Until next time.